Papa Infidel, Ben the Looney, and viewers, I want to talk about Michael Bay for a little bit. And no, I'm not going to jump on the let's bash Michael Bay bandwagon like pretty much everybody, including Ben, has. And I, to be quite honest, don't mind Michael Bay's movies. At least most of them. Never been a Transformers fan. You know, some days I sit here in my man cave and I wonder if it'll ever be okay to admit that you like Michael Bay movies. Okay, one of the things about Michael Bay that I think people don't like, you know, is the fact that he works specifically in a genre that's not popular with everybody. You know, he's mostly known for doing movies that are produced by Steven Spielberg and Jerry Bruckheimer. You know, he's known for doing very glossy, very commercially successful, you know, big budget summer blockbusters. Now, I do actually think he's done some impressive work with Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2. By the way, I actually think the second movie is better than the first movie. It was funnier, it had crazier action sequences, and it didn't feel as loose as the first movie. The second movie felt like it had way too much of an... The first movie, I mean, to me felt like it had way too much of an uneven tone. Now, getting back on topic, Michael Bay also did a good job with The Rock and with Armageddon, and in particular, for my money, with The Island. It's one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time to come out since Blade Runner and The Matrix, okay? And I think he did a terrific job with The Island. Now, I've heard good things about Pearl Harbor, so I may sit down and watch it one of these days. I mean, if nothing else, I'll sit down and watch it just because Ben Affleck's in it. But anyway, the thing I can't figure out is, why does everybody badger Michael Bay for his movies? You know, the critics I can understand. He doesn't work in a genre that's particularly popular with the critics, but moviegoers bash him regularly. It's like, if you don't like his movies, then why the hell did you go to see one of his movies when it came out? When it opened? He makes very commercially successful films. That means people are going to his movies. So who in the blue hell is going to his movies when they open only to piss and moan about it the next day? He makes summer blockbusters. What is there to bitch about unless you're some uptight snob who only likes mind-bending thrillers and historical biopics? I mean, look, I like the occasional thriller as much as anybody. You know, some of my favorite movies are thrillers, like Seven and Man on a Ledge. But every now and again, I like to just sit down and watch a mindless actionaire where you just shut your brain off for 90 minutes, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, grab some popcorn and a big gulp, and enjoy the show. Outside of The Island, and maybe Pearl Harbor and Pain and Gain, Michael Bay's films are pretty much mindless action movies where a lot of people get killed and a lot of crap gets blown up. The sad thing is, the same crap that Michael Bay gets now is the same crap that Tony Scott got early in his career. You know, because he was known for doing those glossy, commercially successful Simpson Bruckheimer movies, you know, like Top Gun and Beverly Hills Cop 2 and Days of Thunder. You see, now, since, you know, after he's made movies like True Romance and Enemy of the State and Man on Fire and other movies, and especially after his death over a year ago, it's okay to say you like Tony Scott movies, which pisses me off, okay? Now, like I said earlier, I wonder if there will ever come a day where it'll be okay to admit that you like Michael Bay's movies. Yeah, right. Papa Infidel's still waiting on a raunchy striptease and a hickey from Kate Beckinsale, but that ain't coming his way anytime soon. Now, you all know I gotta get around to Michael Bay's, you know, production company, Platinum Dunes. You know, a company he formed to help first-time directors break into the film industry. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to help first-time directors get their, make their big break. That's something that I can get behind, but not when all they're doing is horror movie remakes. And I'm not one of these neophyte purists, redundant, all purists are neophytes, but I'm not one of these neophyte purists who thinks that remaking a film is a negative thing in and of itself. But do you mean to tell me that none of these new directors has one of their own scripts, one of their own movies that might be a compelling story to tell through film? I mean, not every single movie that's ever come out has to be remade, but that's another topic for another video, okay? And one last thing, folks, do not spam me with Transformers comments, okay? I don't like Transformers, and I never have. I never collected or played with the toys as a kid. I never watched the cartoon show, and I have no reason to care about whether or not Michael Bay has butchered the source material through his movies, okay? I don't care. So far, the only Transformers movie I have seen all the way through is the third movie, Dark of the Moon. And I'm going to be straight up honest with you guys. To me, all the dialogue scenes and all the story stuff, pretty much anything that required any acting, sucked. But all the action sequences, more specifically the Chicago stuff at the end of the movie, that wasn't so bad. Okay, but it's not enough for me to praise Dark of the Moon, but it's not enough to get me to hate the movie. It takes a lot. I'm one of those guys where it takes a lot for me to admit that I hate a movie. So far, the only two movies I will admit that I fully 100% hate are Step Brothers and Fat Albert. Screw that movie. Okay, bottom line, Michael Bay's not a director that's worthy of everybody else's hate. Okay, his movies aren't Oscar material, with the exception of Armageddon and maybe Pearl Harbor, but he's still a filmmaker worthy of praise. And as far as I'm concerned, the only people who are posting hate blogs and hate comments about him are either butthurt art film fanatics who can't just shut their brains off for 2 seconds to enjoy a movie, and neophyte purists, again redundant, who don't like the thought of one of their favorite movies, their favorite horror movies, being remade. If you want to raise a stink about that, fine. Ask me if I give a crap what you think.